So it has occurred to me that the games that I covered in 2021 represent the majority of the most popular games for grown-ups that have come out in the last 5 years. I probably should have titled this retrospective as Most Popular Games of the Last 5 Years Revisited or something like that. My bad. So, for people who are new, this is part 2 of a 3-part series where I revisit all of the games that I reviewed in 2021. The feedback from part 1 was really informative, and you all had a lot to say, which is awesome.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable. YouTube, if you see something on YouTube that says 2021, you're much less likely to click on it if it's 2025.
Yeah, I probably should have said revisiting games from 2021, and maybe 2021 was smaller or something. And revisiting games is really big.
You've never been good at the marketing and self-promotion part of this gig, and it's okay.
Yeah.
There are a lot of channels that do a much better job than
well, because
you.
they have a team.
No, it's not even a team. They just know what they're doing. You've got
yeah.
You remember, YouTube is made up of mostly ex-theater kids who have been doing this their whole life, and they live for this.
Yeah.
Not introverts like you who, wanted to do game design and art and ended up here because of COVID. Oh, wait, are we even allowed to say COVID on YouTube? Does it still get suppressed if you do?
I think so. Just say, the outbreak. I think people will understand what you're talking about.
the recent unpleasantness.
Yeah. The thing we all went through.
Well, not like you're not going to get suppressed on this video anyway.
Yeah.
So, what are we starting with?
Okay, so we're going to start with A Summer's End, Hong Kong, 1986. And I covered that in August of 2021 when it was completed. What are you laughing?
This is like the game you hold up. It's like, look, there are games for girls in this space, and it's always that game that you hold up.
Well, I don't really know how you can see it otherwise because of how popular and, things have happened with this game and these developers since it came out.
I don't understand how it's considered to be a grown-up game and just not a regular Otome game, especially since there's no explicit content in it. It's just an Otome game with a little more nudity. I don't get it.
Well, I think an Otome game and how it's different from this game, because this is a Yuri game with 2 women in it, and an Otome game
as opposed to Yuri games having no women in it? What?
As opposed to an Otome game that has a female protagonist, but on all of these male protagonists.
You can have a Yuri Otome game.
You can, but you also have to have just a bunch of them. You can't just have 2.
Do Otomes require harems?
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't know.
I mean, sometimes they do. They only require 2 love interests.
Like a Twilight.
Yeah, like a love triangle kind of situation.
Which you hate calling it a love triangle.
But people get the point if I say that. And I just have to swallow my tongue.
If it's a triangle, there are 3 points.
Yeah, I know. I want to call it a love angle, but I'm not, but I can't.
I think it's called the triangle. We've talked about this before. I think it's called the triangle because of the relationship between the 2 competitors.
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah, there's the animosity that does.
There's a animosity. Let's just call it passion.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess that passion can turn into threesomes. Not usually though, but sometimes.
Maybe in your Otome games.
Yeah, but I don't think I would call this an Otome game. It's just a Yuri visual novel.
Okay.
But since its release, it has done a lot of things. It was featured in over a dozen game articles over the years, with Polygon and Forbes and Wired and the Daily Dot, and just a lot of game journalists have covered this game. The developers have also attended an event called the Female Protagonists International Women Game Makers Week at the, I'm going to say this wrong, Goethe Institute in Taipei, Taiwan in 2023, which...
Oh, you're killing me.
They've done a lot. You can't really point to anyone...
No, I mean your pronunciation. I apologize.
Oh. So what is it?
You're going to look it up. You're going to look it up tonight.
Goethe.
Yeah. He wrote Faust.
Goethe?
No. Where's your mom? She speaks German.
It's German?
Yeah.
Goethe. I have to sound angry.
No. Oh man.
I don't know. Goethe. Goeth? Goat. It's a goat? Is the H silent? Goat? G-O-E and then the.
Goethe.
Goethe? That is completely what? Oh my god.
I know.
Goethe?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I see no R.
Let me find some online pronunciation thing for you.
Goethe. Okay, fine. The Goethe Institute. Am I saying institute wrong?
Goethe.
He said it's like Goethe.
Yeah.
Goethe.
So you got the G part right, I guess.
There's no R. How was I supposed to know it was Goethe? Okay.
Well, it's the guy who wrote Faust.
Okay.
And I think it was Johann or something.
Oh, I would have gotten that if it was the Johann Institute.
There you go. That was in Taipei. Are you going to go there?
Yeah, that was in Taipei. I don't know. I don't, but I just thought it was interesting that it was in Taipei, Taiwan.
We are so off the rails on this podcast.
Yeah, we've spent so much time.
So this game,
they've also attended an event called the Forum des Images at a pop-up station in Paris, France. They've been so many places.
Yeah, and it's great. They've talked about this game all over the world.
Yeah.
And you know what they haven't done? Made another one.
Oh, they have announced a new game that they're currently working on. It was a few years ago, but they have been working a few years on this new game.
Maybe if they stopped going to conferences, they'd have some time to finish their game.
Oh. While they're going to conferences, I think they're using those opportunities to also, they talked about picking up experiences from other people. And so I'm thinking that's why that they also did that when they were going to these events.
Look, I don't think I can say anything more because otherwise I'm going to be accused of discriminating or a hate crime or something, okay? It is a successful game.
It is.
It is a good game. It is absolutely a game that appeals to a female audience, and I just wish there were more of these games in this market so that when you talk about this subject, it isn't this just game and a couple others that come up.
Yeah.
So get on it, developers. What do we got next?
Okay, so our next game is AI Shoujo, and I first covered this in May of 2021 when it was completed, and okay, so this is going to be interesting because I'm going to have to talk about Illusion. I guess, should I talk about how AI Shoujo is, different from now, currently now than what you could have gotten in 2021?
Why do you ask me for permission? I have any control over this? You told me I couldn't
know.
even drink my Coca-Cola because you said I was drinking too loud, okay? So, look, okay?
I also say that you breathe too loud,
yes.
too.
You're like, stop breathing, stop existing. Why are you so annoying? 'Cause you think she's nice. I'm telling you guys, she's a monster.
I am. Okay, I'll talk about how it's different. So, the AI Shoujo that I covered and reviewed in May of 2021 is different than the AI Shoujo that you can buy off of Steam now, and because it was gutted for content.
The fact that you can even still buy Illusion games on Steam, that wasn't even supposed to happen.
Yeah, I know, honestly, because Illusion, if you guys don't know, is a Japanese company that is no longer. It closed in 2023.
And it closed really quickly.
It really did, yeah, because they had recently announced their 30th anniversary.
And they had a cool watch that you could order, and
I
didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if anyone got that watch.
I'm sure they sold out of it. I'm sure they're collector's items now, and I'm jealous.
Oh, you're right.
So I'm hoping maybe when we're in Japan, I can go find one to get one. That would be a cool collector's piece to pick up just to have.
Yeah, it would. Yeah, but I made a video about their closure, and since the release of AI Shoujo, they have Illusion, the company, did release other games like Honey Select 2, Libido, sorry, DX, in June of 2022 on Steam. However, it had completely removed the studio from the Steam version, so this was a game that was also gutted for content. And Illusion, over the years, did release other games like Koikatsu Sunshine and Room Girl, but they were not released on Steam.
And, speaking of games for women, surprising thing for me in Japan is how many women do play these customizable illusion games. Still disproportionately male audience, but there is a strong segment of women because they like the character creation. They like the...
Well, yeah, you think about The Sims.
Yeah.
You know, how many women play The Sims?
You know, and how many women play The Sims with sexual mods. Yeah. And then, like, pretend that they don't use most of them. They're like...
I know.
It's like...
It's just like, I just do this for, like, the periods. I'm just like, okay.
Like, you don't need to pretend. It's okay. No one's judging you here. Actually, I guess we are, because we're judging them for pretending.
Oh.
I know. It can't get away from it.
Yeah,
okay, we're part of the problem. Or at least I am.
You really are. At least you are.
And Illusion, the company, we've had a couple spiritual successors, but
yeah, like you have Ill Games, which
prices their games like they're Illusion games.
They really do.
What was their new game? The beach game? What was it called?
So they go by different games or names. Samabake Scramble is the name that they have on Steam, but on DL site it's called Summer Vacation Scramble.
I think it's the same meaning. It's just a translation.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but Summer Vacation Scramble is probably like I find that to be the better name because that gets the message across.
Yeah.
And you know it's a summer, it's vacation, and it's a scramble.
And every anime has to have a beach episode.
Yeah. One of the things that I am excited about Comiket is that maybe I can talk to some of the people involved in Ill Games. I think that would be pretty cool.
I think you're going to need a translator for that.
Definitely, yeah.
So if there's anybody out there going to Comiket and you want a job.
Yeah, Japanese and English. That's pretty much the only two requisites.
And your knowledge of German may be helpful as well.
Oh my god. I'm never gonna forget that. It's wait, what was it?
I'm never gonna forget. Wait, what?
Goethe?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You got it. Now I'm gonna go make you read Faust.
Please don't.
This is the Faustian bargain that we are making.
Oh gosh. Okay, next game. I'm just going to move on. It's Breeders of the Nephelym, and I covered this first in August of 2021, and it's still not completed. And I last covered it with build 0.753, if that means anything.
It's not how we do math.
What do you mean, 753?
753 would be on the other side of the decimal point.
Oh, 0.750. Whatever. What the fuck ever.
You could do 753 thousandths.
Oh, God. Okay. No. So the last time that I actually covered this game was with the furry list in 2023, and actually the last time that it was on the top Patreon list in 2023. It was kind of moving out. It was number 10 on that list, and it was most likely because of its limited and infrequent releases that are still happening today. And the biggest release that they've had was with that list. It was 0.760. Wait, is that right?
You're just killing me.
And I'm just...
You could say 76 hundredths. 0.76.
It's not 0.76.
I am so going to get abused in the comments. You're bullying Annie. What are you doing?
I don't know math.
German, math, whatever.
It's not my fault that their, numbers are big, okay?
We're recording this very late at night.
Yeah, okay.
It's the rainy season now, and we can't, even in the soundproofing, we can't record with the heavy rain. So it's obviously past my bedtime, and I'm obviously more ornery. So I apologize to the audience. Not that it's going to stop you guys. So tell me about the latest patch. What do we have?
So I'm not going to say the number, but They had a new release. It was in February.
You want me to say the number?
Sure.
It's 0.761.6. So this shows us that they don't know math either, so it's okay.
Exactly. Oh my god. Yeah, I don't know what all these numbers are. So basically,
hopefully they're in order.
Hopefully. We're just I'm laughing at everything.
It's past your bedtime.
I know. Okay, so with this release, basically, water looks and acts more like water. which is, you know, an important thing. I actually did play this build to see what the water looked like, and it did, you know, look like water. And so I think that's a good sign. They haven't done anything to the ocean, but they did things to, you know, like puddles and
the ocean's
the
still
river.
there.
The ocean's still there. Well, yeah, you're like on the edge of the ocean.
Please tell me there's more content than just the water, because
there's also
damning with faint praise.
There's also there's a merchant, which was actually introduced in the December build, but now you can have a scene with her, and you can also buy clothes from her, but they're only female clothes. You can play as both a female character and a male character in this game.
Thank you for clarifying that, because I was like, what, are you buying clothes for the tentacle monsters? What are you...
I wish, honestly.
What do they call that? Surprise sex in the game?
What? Oh, yes. Yes. And that's about it. Not a lot of new content. But I am going to argue that it is still the best breeder game out there right now. So...
And are these updates on Steam, or is this still in the Patreon?
Yeah, it's only on Patreon and their Subscribe Star.
Okay. So get them all excited about these Steam updates. Sorry, guys, nothing for you.
Yeah, you have to go on their Patreon. I'm sorry.
Speaking of monstrous games.
Yeah, next game is Carnal Instinct. I first covered this in August of 2021, and it is not completed. And I covered a build that's not there anymore. Like they've done iterations.
A couple times, right?
Yeah, they've done iterations over the years, and the version that I played in August of 2021 is not what's there now. And honestly, I like the version that they're working with now, and I hope that they just stick with it.
That's the Unreal upgrade version?
Yeah, but it's also like they've completely rewritten the story, and also, well, not completely rewritten it, but the intro's different and the layout of the game is different. I essentially see it as a different game.
Okay.
I covered it in a review in 2024, and since then, they've had 3 updates, and they've recently had a major update that just happened, and I'm sad that I couldn't play it.
Because somebody shipped their computer to Taiwan.
Well, yeah, the movers were here. What was I gonna do? Just keep it?
I don't know.
Like, just hug it and just like bring it on the plane with me?
Some
No.
people do that.
Yeah, and they're crazy. I'm not going to do that. I had it shipped literally on the day that it released on Steam. So I saw that and I was like, all right, guys. But anyways, it's a huge update. They have like 2 new quests, more sex scenes with the dynamic sex scene 2 thing that they're working with. There's new genitals. There's a strap-on genital, which I found interesting. I don't think I've seen a game have like a strap-on genital as an option. And I'm wondering if there was like a workaround for Fuda. No, they have Fuda.
I completely defer to your expertise on this one. I am in the weeds on this. I have no idea.
I don't know if there's Fuda now, actually. I'm thinking about it, but maybe this was a workaround. There's more weapons and shields. There's like 17 new shields now. They're reworking the bows and arrows, which I like because I am a bow and arrow girl, so that's nice. But I also like their magic, and they have new spells, some new areas, and gameplay updates, and yeah. I mean, it's a big update, and I'm just really sad that I can't really show anything. So what I'm going to show for like the YouTube people is just going to be
footage from last year.
Yeah.
And put it in, just be like, I apologize. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah.
Blame it on Goethe.
I hate you. God. All right. So the next game is Castle in the Clouds DX, which
you like this one.
I did like this one. I covered it in October of 2021, and it was completed when I covered it. And this was a really cool game. This was one of the first like games that were really inspired by old school platformers.
Well, from this generation, there were a lot of them out of Japan, 20 years ago.
That's true, from like a Western perspective. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it was just really cool. It had like the old graphics and the old kind of music and
Which
the art.
Which you always like.
Yeah. Oh my God, the music is so good, and it's actually by the same person called Gentle Breeze, who made the music for Butt Night and Aurelia and Midnight Castle Succubus and like a bunch of other games. And yeah, they're just really good at like that pixel, dark, mystery kind of music.
That's cool.
But yeah, I really like the gameplay. Like, I remember spending hours trying to beat Mega Man 9 on the Wii, and it felt like that. You know, it felt like there was a challenge. Well, sort of. Mega Man 9, I remember. I mean, I played it like when I was like 8 or something. So I remember that being so hard, especially with a Wii controller. So Castle in the Clouds DX is much simpler than that, but I am much older. So
any downsides?
Oh, well, when I did cover it, I actually did say that there was a downside where the sexual interactions were separate from the main story and they kind of just happened anywhere else or anywhere. And, you know, over the years, after playing a lot of adult platformers now, you know, like Flip Witch, Scarlet Maiden, Future Fragments, Drain Mansion, etc., I can confidently say that they're all kind of like that.
So it's part of the genre?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and I guess I was surprised at that, and so, but now I can say that I have knowledge. And
speaking of genres that are popular with repeating themes, our next game?
Oh, College Bound? Yeah, I can say that. Yeah, so College Bound, Episode 1, I covered in June of 2021. And I covered Episode 1 when it released on Steam, and it fully completed with Episode 5 in 2023, and they had each episode being sold as a separate DLC. So the last time I talked about this game was in the College Steam list in 2023, and I also covered their standalone game, Arctic Adventure, in 2022. That was a fun game, Arctic Adventure. It's a completely standalone game, so it has the same characters, but they're not, they don't have the same relations as in College Bound.
I remember the script writer for that game reached out to you about something. I don't remember what it was, but you were talking about something. It's like, oh yeah, I wrote it, and thank you for saying nice things.
Well, that's nice. I forgot that too.
Don't they have a new game coming out?
Yeah, they started in 2023. It's called Baddies Inc.
Is that on Steam yet, or?
No.
Okay.
But it is currently on, all right, I'm going to try it, version 0.1.16.
What do you keep saying?
But is it 0.16?
Yes.
Oh my god. I give up. It's stupid.
We should talk about how I had to coach you through physics in high school. And how you wouldn't speak to me for a month afterwards.
Yeah, and I still hate physics. I can't. If you show me an arc, I'm gonna crash out.
But you love space. That's the crazy thing.
I know. Maybe I like space just looking at it and not actually.
No, because we took you camping to like a dark sky place.
Oh, to look at the stars.
And you hated that too. You guys were like, I'm never going camping with you again. Like all of you like rebelled and were like, no camping.
Yeah.
All of my children and my wife, they're just like, you can camp on your own. Fine,
well, yeah, it was like,
whatever.
There were too many bugs. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, if you really hate bugs so much, why do you cover video games?
Ooh. But
where are we?
Yeah, where are we? We're talking about College Bound. So I think overall, I think they did a good job on the character renders, and the story was actually pretty interesting at the beginning. However, the rushed ending of the game was a letdown for a lot of people. Like you had like forced scenes with characters, even though you showed no interest to them, you still had scenes with them.
So I'd be careful using the word forced because people are going to think something else. You mean they're being shoehorned together? They're forcing the plot, not forcing the characters.
Yes, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Let's not get bogged down into another consent argument in this thing.
You're right. Okay. Yeah. So shoehorned together. But you do end up actually in Paris. So I guess that is something.
That was your question
in
your first review. Yes. I don't know if we're ever going to get to Paris. Wait, is that a spoiler then? You like ruined the whole series.
It completed in 2023.
Okay, so we're beyond it.
Yeah, if they don't know, then what am I going to do?
If you don't know, don't go play it on Steam. Don't give them money. You don't risk enjoying this game. He goes to Paris. Nothing else matters.
Well, he goes to Paris alone. And that's
why do you continue with this smile?
Oh, sorry.
What are you doing?
Because I don't know. Because I'm just so confused why that was the ending. Like, you end up there alone, and like that's it. And that's how it ends.
It's a new beginning.
Okay.
It's the college harem game where you end up in Paris on your own.
Yeah, pretty much. College bound. You're just bound to end up alone. I mean, the first 2 episodes were pretty cool, so I do recommend those.
Didn't your girlfriend in that game like go crazy?
Yeah, she had like schizophrenia or something. It gets kind of dark, and I do think it was pretty cool that how they explored darker themes like that in a supposedly college harem game. So, check out the first 2 episodes. Pretty cool.
Wait, he went to Paris in 2023. He was preparing to compete in the Olympics, obviously.
Oh my God, you're right.
This makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, and that's what.
And given
oh
all the sex that happens in the Olympic villages, it fits with the whole harem theme. It makes perfect.
It does.
We're there.
That's where he ended up.
Yes.
The Olympic Village. Okay, all right, next one. Okay, Fetish Locator. I covered this in March of 2021.
This is another game you talk about all the time.
I talk about this game all the time.
Why do you talk about this game all the time?
Because there are so many flavors in it.
Okay.
And it offers so many opportunities that you can have with people, and which, is an amazing thing, but it does question, how are you going to end it? Because there are so many things that you can do with so many people.
Didn't this game have like 30 endings or something?
Yeah, pretty much. It had like 18.
Okay.
And so, and they did a weird thing with the endings. So week 3, you had different weeks. You had week 1, week 2, and then week 3. And when I first covered this, it was week 1.
Okay.
Anyways, but week 3 had 6 endings, and that came with week 3. Can't speak. And then you had DLC 1, and that had another 6 endings, and it was free. Then you had DLC 2, which had the last 6 endings, and you had to pay for it.
We're all figuring out, how to effectively market on Steam. So
yeah, and
we shouldn't throw
that. Yeah, and so I'm hoping that somebody looks at this and
I remember when you played
doesn't do
this, you were telling your mom and I that you really appreciated how the optional trans love interest was. Wait, how well written the optional
trans
character was.
Yeah.
And because you said that was something that you saw in many games, but it was generally glossed over.
Yeah.
Or fetishized, which I think I made the joke at the time. Well, it's funny that Fetish Locator would
do this,
not fetishize it.
Yeah. But yes, I do think that the trans character was well written, and and I mean, I felt like pretty much all the flavors that they talked about were well written, and some of them I was actually surprised, like I had never heard of them, and so I thought it was interesting too. Like even I learned things from this game.
You were learning a lot in the first year.
That is true. It was March of 2021.
And I remember when you came to your mom and I that summer of 2021, and you wanted help researching and getting our access to scholarly journals and everything else to really start digging into the research side of this.
What limited research there was. Yes.
Well, you have to at least know what the foundational works are. They used to call it seminal works, but they don't use that word anymore because of the semen.
Oh.
It's not based on that. It's the same root.
But people see it like that?
Because people want to get upset about things. So as opposed to actually understanding the nature of the language that they're using, they are jumping to conclusion and think it's somehow, gender discriminating. It has nothing to do with that, but, you fight the fights you can win.
Yeah, honestly.
So and you've come a long way. Your presentation at the Nordic Game Jam was for a first time presentation. That was a fantastic job, And I don't know if I've ever publicly, I've at home congratulated. I don't know if I've ever publicly congratulated. She did an awesome job, and everybody should go and watch and listen to it and make a comment. And like and subscribe. What are the things they're supposed to do?
Make a comment and like and subscribe. Yeah.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yeah, honestly, just please subscribe to the Patreon.
And send her a copy of Faust.
Oh, no. Oh my god, if I get German comments now, all right, so Fetish Locator, I'm going to talk about what they've done with other things. Like they've currently are working on Taboo University, which is their other game, and
That's the prequel.
Yes, and it's book 2 now. They finished book 1, and they're also still kind of working on Fetish Locator S&M Studio.
And that's kind of the canonical sequel.
Yeah,
and
to
so
Fetish Locator.
Most of the endings don't count. They said, okay, this is the real ending. I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So yeah, they're still doing things. They're good on releases. Yeah. Okay, so next is Innocent Witches, which I covered in June of 2021. And this game is still not completed. I mean, I'm not really shocked. It's a trainer game. Trainer games take forever to finish.
The art is really, really good.
Also that, yeah, and it's completely hand-drawn. So, yeah. And honestly, it was one of the biggest reasons why I really wanted to cover it initially, because of the art.
I think we are reaching the... I don't want to call it the twilight of hand-drawn art games.
Oh,
but
don't say that.
I think that there are going to be a lot fewer human hand-drawn art games coming out. And I mean, that just seems to be where the
market
that's the
is
writing
going.
On the wall.
It's so disappointing, but it is, yeah, where the market seems to be going.
What build did you cover?
So when I covered it in June, I covered it with build 0.7a, and it is currently on build 0.11.2.
That's not a lot of progress. I remember, were they redoing it or something?
They've been really weird with how they've updated this game. So they plan to have 5 acts, and they are currently working around Act 2 and possibly a bit of 3. And their changelogs have been kind of all over the place, and there's been mostly fixes and little additions here and there, and no actual continuation of the main plot line. And over the years, there have been reworks of Act 1 and Act 2. Yeah, they've just been doing a lot of things except continuing the main story. And so most people are just waiting for the build 0.12a, which is apparently a continuation of the main plot with Act 2, Chapter 3. So, yeah, I guess people are just going to wait for that. I don't know when it's going to release, but yeah.
Next. What do you think? Biggest letdown of 2021?
Biggest letdown of 2023 when it released on Steam. Yeah.
But given how excited you were.
Oh, yeah. When I first played Iragon, Iragon. When I first played Iragon in August of 2021, I was so blown away by how cool this game was. And it was a 3D game. It was probably one of the first 3D games that looked good. That looked good. It was so different. It was like a stylized 3D. I think that's what I'm trying to say. And it was just so different, and I was really excited to see where this was going to go. And when I first covered it, I covered the prologue, and I last covered it with the Steam release in 2023. And so when it released on Steam in 2023, there were 2 versions. There was Iragon, and then there was Iragon 18+. And that's pretty normal to have, an adult version separate from the main game. So I didn't really see any harm in doing that. But the only real difference in the 18+ version was that they didn't really offer the amount of sexual interactions that was promised in the Kickstarter. And then they also didn't have in the 18+ version, they had the clothing destruction mechanic. And that was basically it. Those were the 2 differences between the versions.
You think they cut sexual content as part of the development?
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure what went down with the Kickstarter, but from people, I have seen that they did promise, the Iragon people promised that Iragon was going to have like a ton of sexual content. And then once they got the money from people during the Kickstarter, they kind of took that back and they were just like, oh, well, we'll have...
We're going to focus on the gameplay first.
Yeah, we'll focus on the gameplay and then maybe some sexual interactions. And then they released this and people were just so angry. And which, rightfully so. They were promised something completely different. And the people in charge of this have made the decision to not continue with updating the game, which they were actually doing on itch and not Steam. So yeah, they've completely moved into a different direction and they're now making Otome games.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So they've had, 3 games: Ruby Dreams Immortal Promise, which released on Steam in May of 2024, V.I.R.T.U.E.S, Trial of the Arcane, which came out on Steam in October of 2024, and then they have a third one that's coming out in June called Love in an Enchanted Realm.
Well, those do sound like Otome games.
They do. But, to be honest, I don't think this company's doing well because...
It's hard. This is a hard space to make money in, and this could be a thing where they thought they were going to... it was a studio with multiple employees. This wasn't a single-person project. Maybe there just wasn't enough revenue to sustain that many employees, so...
I guess, but then why have all that money for the Kickstarter?
Well, maybe they thought they were going to get more.
Maybe.
Who knows what
who knows what happened. Yeah.
What their funding and expectations were.
Yeah.
I just remember that you were very excited about this game and then very disappointed.
Yeah. I was, along with everybody else, just being confused and sad.
What's next?
So next is Jessica O'Neill's Hard News, which I covered in July of 2021. So this game is still not completed, which actually kind of shocked me. When I covered it, it was on day 13 with build 0.45, and currently it's on build 0.65, and that's up to day 17. And so they've had the addition of 4 days in the past 4 years. So the releases are really slow, and you can argue that because it's an NTR game, so there are a ton of different plot lines that you can go through, or paths that you can make. But it is a game that has been in development since 2018. So it just really shocked me that it wasn't completed yet. Because I remember it being like a decent NTR game. Yeah, I hope to see this game completed sometime. At some point.
Trying to do the math and figure out how fast the game would have to be going for the time dilation to be 1 day a year.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah, I'm going to let you do that math.
But you said you wanted more physics.
Oh, no. That is
somebody
okay.
will put it in the comments.
Oh, gosh. They just start putting, math equations. Oh, my God.
The game is moving so fast that we're having a relativistic issue. So a year has gone by for...
I seriously hope that there are no physics majors in yours.
Oh, somebody's going to post.
Oh my gosh.
Somebody's going to post.
And whoever that is, I hate you.
How close to C do you have to be going?
No. I'm getting flashbacks.
These developers have left the building.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, why are you still doing the math?
No, it's okay.
Okay. I'm gonna continue on. All right. So the next game is Nightly Passions, and I first covered this in September of 2021, and it is completed. Thankfully.
No, it isn't. Stop lying.
Well, no, it is. It completed in April of 2024, but it is still adding things. Like there is a new Game Plus mode that they just got. And they have brought back some old scenes that didn't make the initial cut because they were replaced by live 2D scenes. Mm-hmm. And okay, so they are still adding things. But yeah, since then, they've had 2 DLCs, DLC Between Life and Death, and then DLC In the Grip of Ice.
And those are both standalone games that have nothing to do with the actual game.
Yeah, so you can play In the Grip of Ice and it's like Arctic Adventures.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have announced a new game, and there's not much known about it, but I will tell you what I've read so far. So it is going to be about vampires, which is cool. It is going to be a prequel to Nightly Passions. It is going to have the transition from RenP to Unity, so it's going to be in the Unity engine, which, could be good or bad.
Means if you have a Mac, you're out of luck.
Yeah.
No Android either.
That's why I said good or bad, depending on who you are. And they are going to have a map that is going to be larger than Nightly Passions. And honestly, the map in Nightly Passions was kind of bare, to be honest. But
it reminded me of old school adventure games.
It did, yeah. I'm hoping that this map will have, more things to look at.
I don't believe they finished the original game with that small map, so a bigger map, there's just going to be more disappointment for them to offer.
Oh, that's so mean.
Look,
I have hope that they can they can make a good map.
I understand that this development team had a lot of trouble because they were working from a geopolitically unstable place. I get that.
Well, they're still working in one, but yeah.
But to say this game is finished is detrimental to their reputation, and I think that they are going to have trouble meeting the same level of success with the new game that they met with the old game, because they did not do right by their patrons. But they're not the only ones. This is a common thing, just like abandoned games are a common thing. But this is not a finished game, and you can be nice and say all sorts of things, but I'll say it.
All right. So anyways, but with the new game, they plan to have their first version out in the second or third quarter of 2025. Guessing now, I'm going to say third quarter. So hopefully we'll see this new game come out this year. That would be nice.
Next up is an actual finished game, and I believe this is your least watched video of all time.
Yeah, it's currently sitting at a healthy 2.9K views.
Well, it's a furry game with gay characters.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't really know what I was expecting.
Card battling or card collecting? What's in it?
Oh, okay, so you had cards. But...
Wait, what's it called? What's it called?
I don't know. What do you?
The game.
Oh, sorry, Knights College. And I covered it in September of 2021. Okay, so back to the cards. Okay, so it was basically you had the cards and you had different things that you could do with the cards. Like, if you want to greet them nicely, you can do that with a card if you had that card. But it really just depended on which cards you had at the time. It was an interesting mechanic, but it was furry and it was gay, and so I don't really know what I was expecting when I first covered it. I should have.
You are committed to covering as many flavors as you are allowed to.
Yeah, I am.
And you have told us on multiple occasions, you're going to take a hit on a game, but you want to do it, and you feel it's not right to ignore any flavor when you can cover it. And that is, I respect that.
Yeah, and this game has done pretty well. And they also have other games like Lagoon Lounge 2, which they recently released.
It reminds me of My Pig Princess from a character design standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, I think you can say, well, I don't want to say all furry art is the same.
Look, I don't know furry art well enough to know, so if this is just a common thread and I'm looking ignorant, I apologize.
Well, furry art does have a certain look to it that you can point out.
I remember you tell me this was you can tell if a game's a yaoi game instantly. You just look at it and you're like, oh, that's a yaoi game. And I have no idea. So
you see the love in their eyes when they look at another man.
And you told me this is like how romance novels are, and you can tell by the art on the cover what flavors are in it.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a code
maybe
in furry
there's a code
art,
that I'm trying to explain and I can't.
And it's okay. I'm completely ignorant on it, and I'm comfortable with my ignorance.
Okay.
Not shaming, just
Okay. So they are working on remastering an older trilogy that they had in like 2012, 2013. And so they're currently remaking that. And they are also working on a Knights College 2, but they don't have a release date for that yet.
What's the trilogy that they're remaking called?
Lagoon Lounge.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Still furry?
yeah, still
Do you
furry.
date a shark?
Yeah, I don't know.
No.
They usually actually just stay with like furry stuff like bears and wolves.
So we
and
stick with mammals.
tiger. Yeah, mammals. That's what I was trying to say. There is a dragon though, in Knights College.
I have no idea. Does it have fur?
No, because it's a dragon.
Have you ever seen a dragon in real life?
No.
Then they could have fur.
I mean, I guess that's true. I mean, think
What if
about
they're really cold?
a jacket.
They've adapted to live in the tundra.
Yeah.
And yes, I know white dragons are the ones that live. I don't want to hear it, all you D&D people, whatever. You know what I mean?
They're like, oh, darn.
Well, actually, white dragons, they live in the ice.
Well, I think that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Sorry. I was like, well, yeah, because they could blend in with the ice.
Dragons exist because they found dinosaur fossils, and they were like, what the hell is this? And that's why we have dragons.
Really?
Oh, come on. Really? Yes, really.
But then what about the wings? So
Have you seen dinosaur fossils?
do they look like they have wings?
Some of them do.
Oh, weird.
Well, because they're... What are you going to know?
I don't know. I guess that would be pretty cool if dragons were real. Okay. Anyways, the next game. We're getting off topic. Living with Temptation 1 Redux. Okay, so this is called... It was, when I covered it in October of 2021, called Redux, and it is now called Living with Temptation Classic. So just in case people were to look it up, Redux is not in the name anymore. Okay, so...
Because obviously people didn't know what that word meant, so they're like, let's just go with this instead.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I think they said Redux because it was a remaster of a previous Living with Temptation, and so they had Redux, but now no one plays the old version, so now it's called Classic. So that makes sense. So it was completed when I first covered this, and the developer has made like 11 new games, and since Living with Temptation Redux, and or should I call it Classic? I don't know. I don't care. So they've had Romance After Dark, Wild Wet West, Serena Dark Confessions, Hot Wife Terra, Sensual Haunting, Adriana and Oliver, Horos, which I did actually cover, and it now has an expansion. Yeah, I'm not even talking about expansions. These are just games. Kurt Maddox, Eleanor in Miami, Club Velvet Rose. Then, recently in January, they made another remaster of Living with Temptation, and now it's called Living with Temptation American Sunset.
I think this company was making adult games, more
Oh
than a
yeah,
decade
I
ago.
looked back in 2009.
So I think this is
they're
another
an
case
OG.
where they have multiple development teams, multiple people working
I'm
on
sure. I
content.
can't imagine this
Yeah.
is just one person making all of these games. But yeah, Living with Temptation American Sunset, this is another remaster, and so expect more content, a new engine. They have changed some things, like they used to have a 24-hour system, and now they only have 6 decisions per day kind of
Is it like
system.
broken up into like morning, afternoon?
Yeah,
evening? Okay.
basically. And there's new and improved interactions with characters. The renders look better, of course. And it's basically just a better game overall.
Yeah, old dating sim kind of stat grinding games used to be the worst from adult or not, just in general. All of these types of games, they were just grueling. So
Yeah.
anything you can do to speed it up and
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm an impatient person. That's why I have trouble playing trainer games. Yeah, so yeah, if anything makes the game faster, I am all for it.
What's next?
So next is Long Live the Princess, and I first covered this in April of 2021, and it's completed, and I did cover it with build 0.34, and this build actually concluded the main storyline, but the game was fully completed in 2023, and it released as a full and free game. And so when I covered it, the rest of 2021 and 2022 and a bit of 2023 was spent on rounding out the game by adding more scenes with characters, finishing the love interest stories, and, just overall polishing the game. It's a good game. It kind of reminded me of, like, Ace Attorney.
Yes.
So you are a truthsayer, and you can like tell people when they are lying. And so when a person lies to you, you can just be like, objection, and you just prove them wrong, and you have the proof to do that. And yeah, so I think it has a fun gameplay mechanic like that. So what they have recently been working on is a game called Supermodel Defenders of Desire. And the developer actually pitched this idea of a new game at the beginning of 2021 when they finished Long Live the Princess. Mm-hmm. But they haven't actually started making builds until September of 2024. And so right now it's not that big. It only has like 5 builds. Yeah, it's a very different game from his other game. It's like a linear mystery thriller visual novel with an optional card game mechanic.
Superhero game?
Yeah, it takes a more nuanced, down to earth look at superheroes and their role in the world. Kind of like it reminds me a bit of The Incredibles, where they kind of like try to humanize the superheroes.
Great. More superhero postmodernism. Woo.
Yeah, I liked The Incredibles.
Yeah.
The second one wasn't as good, but that's just my opinion.
What do you got next?
Okay, so the next game is Love and Sex Second Base. First covered this in March of 2021.
This is another game you have talked about so much.
I have, yeah. Because, it's good on releases. It has a bunch of characters, like more than 20. It has just a bunch of things to do. It's a good game.
You interviewed, we had this on it wasn't really an interview.
He was on the Hentai Expo podcast. Yeah.
Which didn't happen this year. Very sad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it didn't happen. Maybe next year.
Yeah, it was, so maybe next year that we could see. Are you going to see the DL site people in Japan, you think?
I hope so. I mean, that would be nice.
They were there last year.
They were there last year, so I'm hoping that they will be there this year.
And Kamikit's kind of their big thing, if you look at how many games.
Yeah, I know. So, I'm hoping that they show up.
Be like, hey.
Yeah, just, hey.
Here's our impromptu Hentai Expo. All right, what are your best games? Let's do it right now. 5 minutes, go.
Oh my god. They just speak Japanese, and I'm just...
It's fine. You'll have that translator there. Seriously, somebody reach out.
Yeah, once again, the only 2 requisites are speak English and speak Japanese.
And maybe a little German. Let us know what compensation you're expecting.
Oh my god. Anyways, back to Love and Sex Second Base. So since their release, they had a Steam release in July of 2023, and I did do a revisit video then. But since then, they've had My Demonic Romance, which came out May 2024, and they are currently working on the 4th and final chapter of that game. So
shorter than.
It is shorter than Love and Sex. I think most of his other games are going to be shorter than Love and Sex Second Base. But yeah, so that can hopefully we can see that done maybe this year or next year. And they have also worked on 2 DLCs for Love and Sex Second Base, Bree Story, which you play as Bree, and for A Fistful of Waifus. I was going to say dollars. For A Fistful of Waifus.
Given how you love cowboy movies, I can't imagine why you would say that.
Yeah, I know. It was on the mind. I was like, dollars. And they have announced a new game called The Gangbang Theory, which how am I going to say, how would I review that? The Gangbang Theory, if I were to review it.
Aggressive cohabitation theory.
Aggressive cohabitation. Yeah. Oh, all right. I guess I can work with that. Okay. Variations
on a human centipede theory.
Oh, God. No. Anything but centipedes. No. We kind of took a break, and we were getting tired. Like we said, it was past our bedtime. So we're now here again.
During the break, I did the math.
Okay. What were you doing the math of?
Well, how much time dilation how fast do you need to be going to have time dilation of 1 day to 1 year?
Okay, so you're doing physics. So you're going to take this, and I'm just not going to talk.
At first, I was like, okay, if you have to, how much is one day relative to 1 year? And I was like, okay, that's 365.25 days, because we have a leap year every 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So 365, 365, 365, 366. That would come out to 365.25. And then we have this thing called the Lorentz factor. And the cool thing about science is, Sir Isaac Newton said it, we stand on the shoulders of giants. So everybody's done the hard work ahead of us, so we can draw upon that hard work to do it.
Yeah.
So you use the Lorentz factor, which is dealing with time dilation. You plug that in, and you get 0.9999625% of the speed, up to the speed of light. So
you say like I know what you're talking about.
But then I was like, wait a second. Is it actually 365.25 days? And I'm like, come on, it's the Julian calendar. It's 2,000 years old. We probably have a more accurate date. So I looked up, and sure enough, it's 365.2422 days, not 0.25 days. So if you plug that into the Lorentz factor, you know what? It's funny, because in China, they don't like to use Westerner names for stuff, so they call it the gamma factor, because gamma is the letter we use
for G.
No, that's
for
not
J?
a G. No, it's not a G. It's
gamma.
It's the Greek letter gamma.
Oh.
It looks like a Y.
Okay.
It looks like a funny Y, but it's not a Y. It's called gamma.
It's the German stuff all over again.
So, helping you with your Mandarin,
in
China, they call it the gamma factor, or Yama Yingzu. Is what they call it.
Yeah.
So if you plug it in there with 365.2422, you get 0.9999925.039. But then
there's more.
Well, because every year is different in length, slightly.
Yeah.
So I would have to know what the last 4 years were. Relative to every other year, comparatively.
I mean, I feel like that's a pretty good, easy to look up.
Well, yeah, physics is not pure math. You're always going to have, like when you were first learning Newtonian mechanics in high school, they always said, don't account for wind resistance for things falling, because they understand. You want to learn the fundamentals. So every year's a little bit different. But then I was also like, well, wait a second. Was this whole example exactly 1 day to 1 year, or was it something else? And then I was like, okay, and finally, we're not static in this equation. So we're also moving through space at a velocity independent of this developer moving through space at a velocity too. So we have some, if there was a third fixed point, which was not in motion at all, there would be observing two different sets of time dilation. So our relative time dilation would require this developer to be moving faster than even this. And at that point, I was like, okay, I'm done. We need to get back to the podcast.
Right.
This is way too much time and energy spent to what was an offhand comment.
Did you dream all of this?
No, I was thinking about it. And we took a short break, and I wanted to use the time productively, because it was eating at me, and I wanted to.
Of course.
And I was getting quiet in the podcast because I was thinking about this. I'm like, okay, I just need to whack this mole on the head, and I've pittered around with it enough. Now, anybody in the comments, if you want to take these specific additional variables and do the math, you are welcome to. I will give you a shout out. I don't know if she will. This is probably causing her PTSD flashbacks from, physics and astronomy. So
well, I'm just thinking, what am I going to show during this? I think I'm going to show
you can go look up
Starfield.
Lorentz factor, like some Wikipedia or NASA. They'll probably have a nice thing showing how it works, because it's a curve. It's a curve of time dilation. You start at 1-to-1 if the two things are moving at an equivalent speed through space, then you're moving equivalently through time.
Yeah.
Because as you probably learned, all energy is going somewhere. So if you have more energy going through space, you have to have less movement through time. If you are moving through time more, you have to be moving through space less, relative to another person, another observer.
Yeah.
And we only figured this stuff out after we had trains.
Oh.
And the reason why is that was probably the first time that we had people visibly moving much faster than other people in a way that we could observe and think about. Because if you think about horseback carriages and everything else, you didn't really see them passing by. But with trains and whistles and the noises they make and the people started thinking about the impact of velocity on everything else. So
Okay, that makes sense.
it's just one of those unforeseen.
Yeah.
Anyways, what is our next game?
Okay, so our next game is the Tyrant,
Which has no physics in it.
Yeah, thankfully not. I covered it first in April of 2021, and it's not completed. And when I first covered it, it was build 0.9.4, and now it is on build 0.9.7.
Even slower than the other game.
Three builds.
I'm not doing the math on this one.
No, please don't. That is all the math that I can do for today. So they did take a lengthy break from February 2021 to September 2024. And so since September 2024, they have started to slowly update the game again. I mean, so 3 builds so far. I mean, it was gone for so long that people were really surprised when it actually came back because people thought it was abandoned. So, because it's 3 years.
I'm surprised they weren't kicked off of Patreon. Usually, if you go so long, you get in trouble with them.
Yeah, I know. So, I was very surprised when I was looking up where this game was, that it was actually still in development, kind of.
I think this is one of those games that is dedicated to giving a full harem experience as well as a full corruptive NTR experience.
Yeah, which is hard.
And those games never finish.
Yeah, because you start to notice that they're either focusing too much on the NTR and not enough on the harem, or the harem and not enough of the NTR.
And the people that are funding for the harem part don't want to see the NTR part.
Yeah.
And the people that are funding for the NTR part don't want to see the harem part. And
yeah.
I'm sure there are people where there is some overlap, but it's tough.
Yeah, it's a very niche market for harem and NTR, and trying to juggle those two flavors is very hard for a game. So honestly, taking that break was like realistic, like, oh, okay. But coming back was very surprising. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, hopefully we can see it finish, maybe.
We'll just see. I wonder how much of their original audience is still hanging around, thinking about it, committed to it.
Yeah, 3 years is a long time, so I don't know who else is just waiting. Yeah, I don't know if it's like mainly the NTR people or mainly the harem people waiting on this game.
It'll be interesting to see what people in the comments say, since you have a lot of people who like harem games, you have a lot of people that like NTR games.
Yeah, I want to see what they think about this game, honestly.
And I do appreciate how they don't really fight with each other much in the comments. Because, like, on Steam and in other places, it is an acrimonious relationship between the two groups of people.
It really is. Yeah, they go ham in what they say.
And I get it. You're dealing with disgust responses. You're dealing with sexual identity stuff.
Yeah.
It makes complete sense. And this could be progress. This could be showing that your message of tolerance, because that's what it really is.
Yeah.
Not in a bad way that people rebel against, but your message of tolerance. People seem to be more tolerant of each other in the comments, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
I'm very proud
phrase.
And glad of my community.
All right.
Okay, so the next game is Twists of My Life, which I covered in September of 2021. And it is completed, and I covered it on build 1.0. And they have made other games since then. They made Void's Calling, which is also completed, and it has 2 episodes and a DLC. And they have their newest game called Boundaries of Morality, which they did start recently in April.
You talked to me about this one.
Yes, because it has a very important...
Yeah. And I know you've been researching this, and it was rejected by Steam or banned by Steam or whatever.
It was rejected by Steam, yes.
And you're actually going to talk about this in depth in your next
the news YouTube one.
In the June news.
Yeah, the YouTube member news June video. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's also available to patrons. What is it? Gamer tier and higher on both?
Yeah, on both YouTube and Patreon.
Okay.
Yes. So yeah, they I guess I shouldn't talk too much about it because
you were talking to me and your mom about this, and it was a lot of stuff. It was a lot in depth, and 15 minutes on, what are these segments, like 5 or 6 minutes each?
Yeah, and it's a small thing, but it's a thing that I can expand exponentially on, and I don't want to get bogged down
from
into...
how you were talking about that this could be a shift.
Yeah.
And doing the research and putting things together and being able to speak,
better on it.
And if it continues, it won't just be in the news segment. You've been talking about doing an
actual
theme
video
censorship thing as well. So if you're not a member and you can't or don't want to subscribe, that's totally cool. She will end up talking about this later on when she's very diligent in her collecting of, the information before she goes out and talks about it. So
yeah.
All right. What's our next game?
Okay, so our next game is called V.I.R.T.U.E.S, which I covered October of 2021, and it is completed.
It's not completed. You should be like, the developer says it's completed.
Well, honestly, it kind of... It gave up.
So
it was a rushed ending.
You did build 13.5 and it went to build 17 in 2023.
Yeah, it finished in 2023. Yeah.
And the interesting thing about that is it had all of these stats to track with, like any dating sim. And all of these stats are just like abandoned by the end of the game.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, well, this is supposed to go from 2 to 5 and it just stops at 2. It wouldn't be a problem if they didn't have it going on a scale and then just abandon the scale.
Yeah, that's why I said rushed, because it was it was obvious that they kind of just wanted to drop it and then start focusing on their other game, Phoenixes, which they are still working on. Phoenixes does have stats, but it is much less than V.I.R.T.U.E.S.
It's less ambitious. V.I.R.T.U.E.S was incredibly ambitious in its variables to track.
Yeah, it was very much like kind of like Love and Sex Second Base with all the stats you had. And in V.I.R.T.U.E.S you had like intimacy and shameless and submission and pet and the big ones, love and harem acceptance. So yeah, they had a bunch of stats.
And what's in Phoenixes?
In Phoenixes?
Yeah.
Well, you still have the love and harem acceptance stats, but they also have the addition of submission.
So they seriously toned down the scope.
Yeah, they did.
All right. So, and that could just be a situation where a developer is learning, I've bitten off way more than I can chew.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that you don't get a finished experience, but I guess some type of even rushed ending is better than what's happened with the Tyrant.
Yeah. And so hopefully Phoenixes is going to be better because of that. Yeah.
And so I don't want to be too harsh. And I know I come off harsh, and it's just, but I really, my worry is that if you say something is finished, people really respect. I think you have worked to earn a reputation of being fair. And so when you say something's finished without putting a big asterisk on it, I worry that people will then think, oh, well, she's just,
Well, that's why I'm trying to say it's finished, but then I also say, oh, but it is still adding things.
Yeah, but then you also said that Nightly Passions was finished too, so.
Well, it was finished to an extent, okay? It's still adding things, but whatever.
Oh, man. Next game?
What a legend. Yeah.
You freaking love this game.
I am so sad about this game. I covered it in April of 2021. And
you were all about this game.
It was so pretty.
It's the first game I ever see you gush about a map like that. I thought that was the most ridiculous.
It was such a pretty map. You could look at it and then start to notice all the little details. And I love maps like that.
You ever go through life and as a parent, and then wonder if a certain event comes up and you just wonder if you failed as a parent? Watching you gush about a map, I was just like, have I not set proper priorities? Where did I go wrong?
Honestly, I don't know what's wrong with liking maps. I like world maps. I like video game maps. I don't know. I don't see what's wrong with that. Anyways, what a legend. So I covered
What
it.
a map.
What a map. What a map. Okay, so I covered it on build 0.4.
That's early for you.
It was, yeah, and maybe I should have
Waited.
waited.
We were just so excited about it.
Yeah, because it had a good premise, and it had really pretty art, not just with the map, with the characters and the backgrounds. And I did see the potential. I did see the potential for this game, but it is currently on build 0.7, so not a lot of builds. And yeah, it's just they've dropped in the number of releases over the years, and now they're taking longer and longer to release builds. And yeah, it was just a really solid game, and I saw the promise of it, and that promise is
still unrealized.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got next?
So next is Wildlife.
You've covered this a lot.
I have. Well, like with Carnal Instinct, it's just gone through so many iterations.
And it's incredibly popular on Patreon, and it does well. You covered this in November of 2021?
Yeah, and it's still not completed. And I covered it with the build gameplay showcase build 10 of 2021. And that build is no longer a thing because they've had so many iterations.
Yeah.
And so the build where you crash land on the planet and then go to the beach where you have the party with all the beasts is no longer there. And so, like I've said, they've remade the game once again. And the build that they have right now is a good build, and I hope they just stick with it, kind of like with Carnal Instinct.
I was curious about their failed Kickstarter. Because what I found interesting was their failed Kickstarter didn't even bring in as much money as they were getting a month on Patreon at the same time. And that was like, wow. So I don't know if it was because the Kickstarter was marketed poorly or there wasn't appeal. It just seemed really glaring that people, they're like, oh, this is what we bring in a month, and they couldn't even get that much pledged in a single Kickstarter run. So that made me very concerned for the long-term viability of the project. But it's still going.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe that's why they've had so many different versions of the game.
Just time. So maybe they were trying to bring in more money to accelerate it, to hire more people to scale the project.
Yeah, I do know that they have like a whole studio and like a whole team working on this game. And so, so the new version that they have a new intro, which was nice. You do get to see more of them in space, and it does tell a better version of the story that they were trying to tell with the other different versions, the old versions, and I like this version better. And they have new places on the map. There's more there was honestly just more things. Like there's more flora, there's more fauna. There's like animals walking around now, which was really cool. You can actually hunt them, and they don't really do anything. They just accept it.
They just resign to their fate. Yeah. They're like the deer in Nara. They'll just walk up to you and be like,
hey man.
If you go to Nara, do not hurt the deer in Nara, please. Oh my God. Get us banned from Japan.
Oh yeah, already.
Yeah, seriously. Do not hurt the deer. You can feed them crackers.
Feed them crackers?
Yeah, the little rice crackers they feed the deer.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so what else do they have? They have new weapons. They actually got rid of the sword, and now you have a hammer, which was weird. I was like, I like the sword. And then they have also like a comically large wrench that you can use and just whack people with.
You have two blunt weapons now?
Yeah, but then you also have the gun. Okay. The gun stays. Right. So,
I think the build I played had like a bow and arrow or something.
They did.
You went hunting with the bow and arrow.
There was a bow and arrow kind of mini game that you could have. That was the version that you played with the beach. I remember that. You go in the woods with a girl, and you can shoot.
That's the only version of this game I've ever played, because I think you said, "Oh, you need to play this. This is amazing. This is great," because it had a good trailer, and you were very excited. Yeah, and you'll probably show footage from that trailer again in this because it looks so good.
They did spend a good time.
Reuse the assets.
Yeah, that trailer was pretty good. But yeah, I hope that they just stick with this one and they finish this fucking game. I need it finished. Honestly.
Don't hold your breath. It's going to be a while.
I know. I know.
What's next?
Okay. Next is WVM, which I covered in March of 2021, and it's not completed, which I was surprised about. I covered it.
A college visual novel isn't completed. I'm so surprised.
Well, I don't know. It didn't. I thought it would be finished. I thought a lot of these games would be finished, but I guess not.
Your naivete when it comes to this industry is
Listen.
adorable and a little concerning.
I know.
It's like, how gullible is Annie?
I said,
Oh my God, I can't believe this game didn't finish. How many games has she said that? By the end, we're going to have to go back and listen and watch, and we need to have a count of how many times you're surprised the game isn't finished through these 3 videos.
I hate you.
I'm just I think that your audience would enjoy hearing that as well. I can't believe it. It's like, for 83% of the games, she said, I can't believe it isn't finished. And then 12% were finished. So there were only 5% of games where she was an acceptable level of progress to finish.
Yeah,
I apologize.
you're so mean.
Dude, it is your fault.
How is it my fault?
We should record when it's not past my bedtime. That should be
I know.
The universal rule. Moving forward in Taipei, in Japan, we will follow that rule.
Okay, good. Okay. Anyways, WVM. So I covered it initially in March 2021 with build 0.9.5, which was around the end of season 1. I probably should have just waited until the end. Yeah. And they are currently on build season 2, chapter 1, episode 13 final. So hopefully they're almost, I mean, I don't know. It's final because they had some issues with episode 13, the original. So they have to just remake episode 13.
I know they've been releasing more builds, smaller builds. I think it's to gauge interest. I think if you look at the average Patreon, the average Patreon is down. The average, so if you look at adult content games on Patreon, they are down as well. They are not down as much as Patreon is down, but I think a lot of these developers are trying to find ways to increase engagement, stem the loss. So it's like, let's just be 10% down as opposed to 20% down, because all of these things are. And if we look at it compared to the video game industry in general, adult games are doing so much better. The video game industry is like going through an apocalypse.
Yeah.
It is really, really.
Yeah, it's bad now.
Yeah. And this started before COVID. This was really starting 2018,
and then COVID
2019.
basically killed it.
No, COVID actually caused a boom.
It did, because everyone was home.
And artificial inflation, but all of the problems and the cracks and the issues that were there from 2018, 2019, they just came back. So here we are, and we're seeing it especially with the AAA studios. If you're an indie developer, you're doing great. And to be fair, if you're an indie adult game developer, you're also still doing great. It's not like it was like 4 or 5 years ago where if you had a college visual novel, you're just printing money. But it's still
Yeah, and WVM definitely
was part of that wave.
Yeah, it was part of that college wave that released in like 2019, and then so it was actually before Being a Dick, and then Being a Dick came around, and they kind of just rode behind the Being a Dick wave. But yeah, they've been pretty decent with updates and releases. They keep doing like those like little ones every now and then. So yeah, I'm just hoping that we see WVM finish, and I don't really want it to become another abandoned adult game.
And speaking of
Being a
Dick,
speaking
that
of
is
Being
our
a
final
Dick.
game.
So I covered both season 1 and season 2 in 2021. So I'm just gonna couple them together and talk about them both. I mean,
it's a good game for coupling.
Wow. Yeah, it is. Thank you for that insight. Okay. So season 1 and season 2, you're so fucking stupid. It's a good game for coupling.
You're trying to keep it together.
I couldn't. I had to. Oh my god. All right. Anyways, season 1 and season 2 are completed, and I did cover them when they had completed.
And season 1 was your game of the year for 2020.
Yes, it was. So it was obvious that I was going to cover it, and which is why I covered it in February of 2021.
Yeah.
So season 1 had episodes 1 through 4, and then season 2 had episodes 5 through 8, and season 3, which is the one that they're currently working on, has the episodes 9 through 11, and plus the interlude.
We talk about this game a lot, and it makes sense because it's so popular. We don't talk about this game as much as, like, other YouTube channels where it seems like their identity is
college harem games.
Inexorably tied to college harem games, and it's like, even when they're not covering it, it's like the specter is behind. It's like, and they'll put out things like, oh, look at all these games, just like being a dick, and look at all these games, just like, and it's I get it, and it obviously works because like especially the Indian channels. They really like 100% committed to it, and they have way more subscribers than you and way more views, and it makes sense, and that works.
They hug being a dick and Summertime Saga.
They're giving people what they need and focusing on most of these other channels are definitely much more popular, but they have much more of a focused, targeted, as opposed to you, where you're just like, oh, I'll cover everything. It's like, whatever.
Yeah. A gay furry game? Sure, why not? 2.9k views. Okay.
It's okay.
Anyways, so I did talk about this on another podcast, the What to Expect from 2024 podcast, Being a Dick. And so this is kind of like an update to that video. Okay. So because things have changed, he has released...
You're rehashing a rehash.
Yeah, I know. He has released episode 11 and is currently working on the last episode of season 3. And I did some math, very minimal.
So see, there's more. You said we were done with math.
I know I did.
Okay,
I guess I spoke too soon.
But because you've already done the math previously.
Exactly.
So we're not doing any additional math.
No, the math is already here. I'm just going to read it.
The math is here.
Yeah, okay, so episode 10 took 11 months to make, and then episode 11 took 14 months to make. And so he didn't actually release anything in 2024. So, going by that math, I could see season 3 release on Steam around next summer.
And here
which
you go.
Is different.
You're making movies, making friends, and mathing around the world.
You had to stick a South Park reference. Of course.
You love South Park.
Yeah, I mean, at least I knew it.
At least you knew it. The little dinosaur tugboat.
But yeah, that was different from what I said last time. I said it was going to release season 3 on Steam at probably the end of 2025 and early 2026. But because episode 11 took so long to make, and I'm going to guess that episode 12 is going to take around that same time, it's reasonable to expect that we can see season 3 around next summer. That
seems fair.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, this has been one of these developers that they have been so successful from the beginning. They are so their influence on the space is so pronounced. I always thought that I know you don't really do. You tried doing interviews for a while, and then you just they really stressed you out. If you guys don't know, the interviews really stressed her out. Like she wanted to hide in her room for a week afterwards. So, which is why we haven't had any interviews in the podcast since, but we'll see. You're going to be doing some live interviews this summer and into the fall. You've already been invited to visit some of the development studios in Taiwan, which I think is really cool. And she's gotten some really awesome invitations. But to be fair, in the Sinosphere, official invitations are still a real thing, and it feels it's almost like a Regency novel or something like that. Yeah. It's like, oh, we are inviting you to come to us, so that'll be cool. And so I would love to see you interview this developer at some point. When he's less stressed out, maybe after it's finished. I don't talk about the journey.
I don't know if season 3 is going to be the last season. I think it would be. As long
as this game is making money, I think we will continue to see
this. I would not be surprised if there's going to be a season 4.
Side episodes. It's like Angry Birds. You just got to ride it into the ground.
Honestly, yeah.
So, but yeah, so I think, and this is one of those things where you were critical about the game in your early review, and I think you thought you could be critical about the game in your early review because you were saying, hey, this is Game of the Year. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of people took that as you thought it was a bad game. Uh-huh. But you said it was Game of the Year, so it was interesting to me to see how that was received.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about Subverse. You know, how many times had I covered Subverse, and I do think it's a good game, but I think because I like it so much, I can be critical about it.
I went and rewatched your early Sex and the Space Opera video.
Yeah.
And it's rough.
Yeah.
You know, you were learning how to do this. You were teaching yourself how to do this. You were learning how to edit. Uh-huh. But you can really tell you have genuine affection for science fiction, for space operas, and genuine affection for what you played of Subverse. And it's sad that you're seen as somebody who did not enjoy the game, and all you were saying was, this game is good, but it could have been the greatest ever.
Yeah.
And you know, who knows? Maybe with new builds, maybe with new things, it's nobody truly appreciates a critic. So
I know
you just deal with that. At least you don't have the really gross comments as much as you did when you first started. Most of the stuff was honestly, get the hell out of here. You're a girl.
Yeah, pretty much.
What is it? One of the biggest questions, why don't you just start an OnlyFans? That was like,
oh my God.
And I think these people honestly thought that they were being helpful with that advice because they're being so dismissive of you trying to talk about and raise up. I think now people realize that you have a genuine
appreciation
and a mission to make this space better. And I think most of the developers you interact with appreciate that. And yeah, you're going to say things that are going to piss them off. Like I think you really hurt the game you really like, and you did the review on season 2, and I think you really hurt his
Classy
feelings.
Lemon? Yeah, the Project Passion.
I think you really hurt his feelings.
I know.
You were like, I like this one, I just like season 1 better.
I know.
And, that was so sad.
I felt so bad. Yeah. But I do think because, you know, like I said, I appreciate and I understand the significance of this game. That I could be, you know, a bit critical, say what I think, and I did, and I don't think he liked it.
It's all right, and you know, I think it would be interesting to see you guys talk about it, especially since you've been around for so many years as the development's going on. This developer has definitely seen how the space has changed. You've seen how the space has changed. Getting you two's insight, I think, would be a fascinating. People don't watch the interviews like they do the other stuff. The people watch the top 10 lists the most. That's what people want to see the most. People want to see what's popular, and then they want to see, oh, I can pick this game, because most of your friends, most of your viewers, I'm such a parent. Oh, you're doing your little friends on YouTube. Sorry, I apologize.
You sound so old.
I know, I do. I apologize. Okay. But most of your viewers are much more casual in this space than you are. So, of course, they're not fixating on every build, every update, everything. So when you put out those lists, you are absolutely providing a service. So it makes sense that those lists are so much more popular.
Yeah.
So, all right. So I think this was really interesting. For me, I saw a lot of repetition in some themes from episode 1, and then when we go into episode 3, it'll be interesting to see you know, what the overall message, the overall, you know, what really has changed over the past 4 years. Our games, it appears that games are getting slower.
Yes.
And but I don't want to draw any conclusions yet. And we're going to try to get episode 3 out before the official move to Taiwan, correct? We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, you're
giving me a dead stare. So
well, yeah, because we have to like actually leave the house.
Yeah, I got you. So
soon.
we'll see what happens. So maybe they will.
I mean, hopefully
for the new thing. And then you've been talking about moving the podcast to an on-camera thing.
Oh, Jesus.
So
Yeah,
I'm
have.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, but
Well,
I don't have much say in any of this.
well, to be honest, maybe I could just have the camera on me and
That's
just have.
so weird, though. He's like in like a shadowed corner.
Yeah, I could shadow you out with
I'm
like,
like in a hat and trench coat.
Oh my god. Maybe I could put the dinosaur view, so it looks like I'm
I don't
talking
see
to
how
the
that's
dinosaur.
going to work since you're dragging me to live events. So
Okay,
you're like,
I guess that's true.
This is my chaperone.
Oh, that's I guess.
All right. So if you're going to be at Comiket and you speak English and Japanese, reach out to us.
This is the third advertisement.
if you want. Well, I think you're going to reach out to the DL site people and see what they're doing too. So we'll
Yeah,
see
I
how that goes.
will. Yeah.
I think this could be really cool. I think this could be a really good synergy, and we'll
Yeah,
see.
synergy.
And, well, no, because this is what we're doing. We're taking the Western stuff, and you are taking everything else that you do and combining things and talking about it. And that's what normalization is. That's what what you're trying to do. You're making it normal to talk about. All right.
All right. And so if you enjoyed this episode of Shame Free Gaming, be sure to check out my YouTube channel, my Patreon, and my Discord. Also, all of the games that we talked about can be found on my Patreon, Sex Positive Gaming. And I will see you next time.